Hi, it's Jim Watson in Call to Battle. I find it interesting is how words seem to change, or definition of words seem to change. My middle son is a high school teacher, and I did not know this, but the word drip has taken on a new meaning. I guess some students said, "Hey, Mr. Watson, you're drip," talking to my son. And I guess that means you're dressed really nice or you look good in your clothes, something like that. So drip now means that. But I guess the high school kids. And there's some words I just don't get, like soy milk, oat milk, almond milk. Do people not know that milk comes from animals and it doesn't come from plants? But apparently, that's a thing too. That milk now comes from like almonds and not animals. But hey, whatever. But it is interesting that words and meanings seem to change, but sometimes it's for a more destructive meaning. I've been watching the discussions on men, and it seems like the world is doing everything they can to destroy the image of man and fatherhood, making it a negative. I mean, if you go around saying, yeah, I think something the world needs is men embracing their masculinity. And people say, oh, no, 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 now you're talking about toxic masculinity. And it's, well, could you define that for me? How many times when people define that toxic masculinity, they're just defining men who acting inappropriately or irresponsibly. It's just not toxic. I mean, you can use that for toxic femininity or toxic relationships or toxic whatever. But they're trying to make masculinity, man or, fatherhood even, or attacking that, making it bad. And I get it, though. I understand it. A reason for it, I think an obvious reason for it is if we can destroy man, if we can destroy fatherhood, those terms, we can destroy God. Think about it. What's one term we use for God? Heavenly Father. Well, if father's a bad thing, we'll correlate that to God as being a bad thing. I think there's a deliberate, part of it is deliberate action to try and belittle that, which honors God or talks about God, to make it less than. And it's really sad. I find it incredibly sad because God made man and woman. Matter of fact, after the sixth day, God looked at all he created, including man and woman. He said, this is very good. God's view of man and woman, but I'm talking about man, is very good. Being a man is a good thing. It's a great thing. Just like being a woman is a good thing. It's a great thing. We like to look at the worst of something and say it's all bad, instead of seeing the beauty, the wonder, the joy of what God created. I mean, man is a fantastic thing. I mean, we can talk about the basic stuff like, who works the most dangerous jobs? Men. Who's been killed most in wars? Men. Who is it who designed a lot of what we have today? Men. Who are making the roadways and the houses? 90% are men. These are good things. But, people like go around and say, oh, who needs men? I'm like, actually, that's like going around and saying, who needs women? It's a crazy statement. It's a crazy statement. It's good. Men are very good. Do men do bad things? Sure. Women do bad things. Everyone does bad things. And as long as you concentrate on the bad, yeah, that's all you're going to see. And I think that's part of the issue too. If we're only going to see the negative, that's all we're going to see and nothing else. But man is a good thing. And I think, especially with fatherhood, the great thing about men is if you look at the stats, anytime a father is involved with their child, the result is the child does better. And when the father is not involved, all the negative statistics just rise almost exponentially. More likely to use drugs, more likely to drink, more likely to drop out of school, more likely to end up in prison. It's just, the stats are just so heartbreaking that when a man is not involved, things get worse. God has given men the incredible ability to make a profound difference. When you're a little boy, you're growing up, you will wrap a towel around our necks and we'll be Superman or Batman. It's funny. You're always going to be the main character. You're never the sub character. No kid grows up saying I want to be Robin. They grow up, I want to be Batman. I don't want to be Aqualad. I want to be Aquaman. I don't want to be Kid Flash. I want to be the Flash. But God has made man, and He's given us superhero powers. Men have superhero powers, but superhero powers is the profound difference we make in a child's life, not just our own children. It is amazing what happens when a man gets involved with a child, someone else's child, of being a mentor, being a supporter. The difference is staggering. I've talked about this through the years that I'm not a huge fan of youth groups. They're fine. I'm not saying they're bad. But if you really want to make a difference in a child's life, mentor. Get involved in a child's life. Pour your life into them, and you'll see a profound difference in that child's life. God has given men this great ability to make a profound difference in a child's life. I mean, fathers, when they find out to be fathers first time, they're nervous. I mean, I don't want to mess this up. There's many fathers men who say get a woman pregnant, they're not married, they don't know what to do. It's like, hey, do you realize the difference you can make? Do you realize the ability God has given you to profoundly impact this life? It is astonishing the impact you can make on a life. And also, you'll be astonished at how that child will grab your heart. It is amazing how a child just grabs your heart. Man, fatherhood, it's a wonderful thing. It is we can say, one of the best of things. We just need to embrace it. And this is what a lot of my podcasts are going to be. It's talking about the wonders and beauty, the differences we can make. My oldest son was born with cerebral palsy. We didn't know it until he was 5 years old. He was misdiagnosed. He also had obsessive compulsive disorder. These things really played havoc with him. He was in pain most of his life from the cerebral palsy. And he kept saying this term of, why can't I be normal? Why can't I be normal? And I spent more time with him, let him tell you, hey, son, you are wonderful. You're great. I used to joke, no, normal is a setting on a dryer. None of us are normal. But I let him know how wonderful he was, that when God used the verse, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. Son, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And he really struggled with that, and he went down a really bad road. He came back from it and got back on his feet. Found a wonderful woman. He married her. I mean, he was a fantastic father. Husband. He was a fantastic husband. He didn't have children yet. And I used to tell him, son, there's a reason you're a fantastic, husband. Because it's the way God designed you. And when you embraced all He made you to be, you could only be a fantastic husband. That's all you could be. But I needed to show him that, you're fearfully and wonderfully, you're a man. God made you a man, and it's a great thing. And when he finally embraced that, it changed a lot in him. He finally understood that God did love him, that he was made wonderfully. His life was cut short, but man, he did make a difference, and he impacted a wonderful young lady's life who got to marry a wonderful man who loved her deeply. But this man, good thing, fatherhood, a good thing, something we should embrace. Don't let the world describe what a man is, what a father is. Don't let the world do that. God tells us that we're not supposed to love the world. We love God. And why don't we love the world? That doesn't mean don't love people. You don't love anything that goes against what God has put into place or how God has defined it, how God showed us how it's done. But manhood, what a great thing it is. And I'll tell you what, I'll be talking more about embracing it, loving it, that it is good. Because God looked at you, men. God looked at you and said, you're very good. And women, God looked at women and said, you are very good. He said, this is very good. That is spectacular. That is wonderful. And that's what I have for you today. So I hope you have a great weekend. Find a great church to worship in, and I'll talk to you soon. God bless.